Heavens. Well, the gang's all here, so let's roll.
Yes. Agenda.
So today I wanted to go over the review situation again, since it keeps coming up, what some alternatives are for those who want to get velocity. So Kelly, if you can talk from the enforcement standpoint, and I'll talk about alternatives. And
Perfect.
then talk about Christmas and Q4 prep and some of the areas where we can see people needing to work on for getting their sales ready for Q4. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about A+ content and some of the limitations and positive things about Vendor Express.
Great. Well, let's start with the reviews, since that seems to be the hot topic and we are in Q4. I'm getting a lot of contacts from people who still have questions about the enforcement change. And I know that it's extremely difficult for sellers. Maybe some of you who are watching this webinar, you have been very reliant upon the old model. Well, that model is gone. You cannot use free gifts. You can't entice people with discounted products or offering them gift cards to abate shipping costs. You can't do that. You've got to go with more organic ways. And as we have talked about in some of the other webinars, A+ content is part of that. Making sure that you're using opportunities to ask for reviews and ask for them to be unbiased, and using sponsored ads and generally, you're going to have to play by the rules. There's just no way around it. Trying to use subtle language or trying to use systems outside of Amazon to try to drive people to your page is not going to work, because they have to buy the product and it has to be above a certain amount, or the review won't even show. So, as my biology teacher said, adapt, mutate, die. You have 3 choices there, and I really strongly suggest that you adapt and mutate to whatever you need to do to make this work, but trying to circumvent the rules by finding any way to give away products that is not sanctioned is going to get you in trouble. If you're on Vendor Central, you have Vine available to you, and there is the new giveaway through FBA and the new beta for new sellers, which there's a few articles out there about that. Those are your best bets. Don't risk your account for reviews. They will come down on you like a hammer.
Yeah, we've just been seeing so many negative things, but I think as far as the positives that I've been seeing, there have been a few clients who've launched their products since this whole change has happened. And the first thing is that the sales velocity tools are working. So if you're wondering about the way that sales velocity tools work, they do work, for one thing. So you do actually get the benefit of having that sales traffic and having that activity on the listing. That does make a difference, so that's positive. The other thing, though, is when I was talking to Jeff Cohen of Cello Labs, he was saying you really want to make sure to be completely within terms of service, that if you're doing a tool like Snagshout or another tool that's a competitor of Snagshout's, when you send your follow-up emails, make sure that you take out any of the discounted products, because then you could be perceived as asking for reviews, even though you're not asking for reviews. You still gave it at a discount and then ask for a review subsequently. Right. So that's that fine line there. So the best thing is the sales velocity to drive traffic and to drive velocity for your product, and then ask for reviews on the organic sales that come in as a result of that increased velocity.
Right, and like I say all the time about various communications with Amazon, if you have another conversation with the buyer, maybe you solve a problem for them or answer a product feature question and they've purchased from you, that's also an opportunity to ask. You're allowed to ask for reviews, and I think that's some of the confusion I'm seeing, is that people think they can't ask. It's like, no, you're absolutely legitimately allowed to ask, but you just can't do it in certain ways. And so it's, again, adapting your strategy and making sure that you're using the chances when they come to you. I, for one, would be more than happy to offer a review if I had a very good experience, especially if they saw a customer service issue came up and it was solved for me, and I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna totally do this, because that goodwill feeling that you get from those CS interactions when you're the customer can really motivate people to do that. So I think really kind of going back to the roots of what makes Amazon successful, that customer obsession is part of it.
The other thing that I think might be helpful for some sellers is when you are having your customer service folks resolve an issue or they offer a refund and they have a good experience with the customer, have some sort of footer. So Amazon has a footer, If you have your own footer, you can actually write it to where you say, if you had a great experience, we'd love to hear about it, and then have the link be your seller feedback.
Yep.
And so you can actually use that to drive seller feedback, and then use something like Feedback Genius after people buy to drive your product reviews. I do not recommend having both of them on the same email. That's really confusing. People get pissy.
Yeah, and I think it probably, you're getting conversion in one or the other, not both, probably, because it's all together. So the footer idea actually, I think, really is a great one, and that probably could solve that concern for a lot of people. And again, you're still taking that opportunity, pretty much every opportunity you have, without overly excessively soliciting buyers for feedback, with just having it in your footer. That solves that problem, because that's the other thing I'm seeing is people are kind of, that pendulum is swinging, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't over email your buyers. Do you want to be enforced against? That is a great way to do it, because buyers will report that in a heartbeat. I would. It would drive me nuts. So.
Yeah. The super spam. Although, you know, it's interesting. I actually met a guy in Hong Kong when I was there a couple weeks ago who said that a 3-email sequence is the best possible length. And it's how you do it that matters.
Right.
Because I remember Crafty Croc example is my absolute favorite. I love Crafty Croc. They're like my favorite example of how to do this the right way. The products are great too. So if you ever want liquid chalk markers, Crafty Croc. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I really like the product.
It's funny too. I think that what you just said is very true. That it's how you do it, and many times the things that I see from sellers, I think, are just not well put together, and that's why they're not getting conversion, even if they are doing 3 emails. So
Yeah.
That's when it pays to have someone like Emily to do your content for you.
Yeah, I was just thinking about one client in particular who's actually really, really successful, and we've been doing a lot of work with her and just coaching her and kind of streamlining her business, and her Feedback Genius emails were really, really long and informative and really great actually, but the information didn't necessarily need to be in a follow-up email like that. It could have been in the packaging, it could have been in lots of different places. So that's one thing we did with her, is just kind of like shorten it up, don't make it a too long didn't read situation, because by the time they get to the end of it, if they do, if that's where you're asking for the review, you're not going to get it anyway.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are concerned about where to view this, I just put in the current YouTube link. For some reason, because this started and then stopped, it gave us a new link. So that's the reason why there's a problem there. But yeah, so to your point, guys, the part of the reason why I love the Crafty Croc one is that the contents itself are fairly short, but there's a great attachment that came with the second email. So the first one was just like letting you know we did this and making sure you know that this is shipping out. Let us know if you have any concerns. Super short. And the second one was like, here are some ideas from our past customers. Here are some cool things. And they sent a PDF attachment. Now, I think that theirs is a bit overkill. It was 39 pages.
Oh my.
It was quite a PDF. But it was literally everything you could possibly ever do with liquid chalk markers, right? I mean, like, there was no idea that had been unturned in this PDF.
Yeah.
And only on the third email, 10 days after, I think it was 10 days or 7 to 10 days after we actually received the product, that's when they asked for the review. And I thought that was brilliant, because you're going to be using it for a while, and then you have something to say about it. Like sending the request for review the day that somebody gets something, especially if it's something like something that you need to use over time, you don't want to ask immediately. You want to ask when someone's been using it for a little while. Now,
Right.
The alternative to that is that there are some products that you want to ask same day. There is that. So product focused.
Yep. So in other words, like we talk about all the time, there's no one way that's always going to be the right way. You're going to have to adjust and adapt for your business depending on what it is that you're selling.
Yep. So with the liquid chalk markers, the reason why I would give a great review to them is because we've been using it for a while, and not only was it convenient and easy to use, but weeks later, we were still able, like my son always forgets to put the cap on things, and it actually still works anyway because the way that it's designed, you just shake it up really hard and it comes back to the tip and it still works. And so that to me is a huge selling point, because my son forgets these things all the time and all of his markers are dry. Whereas the liquid chalk actually still works because this design element actually takes into account, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but takes into account small child behavior.
I would think that they probably did, and that's smart. And that's another thing that's just, I think, part of the puzzle of creating a really great product is anticipating those things. It's kind of like what we were talking about with, well, the average user of Candy Crush is this. No, those are kids playing with people's phones. You know, it's like knowing what those nuances are, and how to reach those people is key.
So as far as alternatives to reviews, so the way that we've been seeing success here, there's two things. The first is a more traditional social media campaign. So driving traffic through Pinterest, Instagram, or Facebook, and paying for advertising there, basically. This works for more photogenic products or things that are geared towards certain groups where you can really target well with Facebook. So the main thing there, though, is know why someone is buying your product. So, for example, I was just looking at a product for a potential client, and they were convinced that the reason why someone wanted to use their product is because it was reusable. And when I was looking at it and looking at different products and looking at other aspects of the product, I'm actually convinced that the reason why people would want to use it is because it's simple. So it's literally a two-step process. And the people who are going for it are not their stated target consumer. Their stated target consumer, I think, is actually not interested in their product. I think it's actually a completely different target consumer that wants simple, and reusable is just a convenient side effect. So looking at the research, looking at what customers are actually doing can really help you with your targeting. Excuse me, I'm a bit crud from the kids. So when you're deciding on how to target on Facebook, it's super important to get some feedback from someone else and say, okay, I really think it's this kind of customer that wants my product. Or if you don't know, then just blast it to everybody for the first week or two, and then see who's actually clicking. And Facebook will tell you what demographic group is actually clicking on your product too. And then you can do it more targeted and not waste so much money sending it to people who don't want it. So that's the first thing, is make sure that any kind of social media campaign you're doing, you know who you're targeting so you don't waste a bunch of money. And then know which platform you're using, because Facebook is actually pretty good for most products. But I would say that Instagram or Pinterest need to be either something crafty, Pinterest crafty for women, and Instagram needs to be something that really photographs well. It needs to be something where you've got lifestyle, shot something in action, otherwise people will just fly right by it. So for Facebook in particular, what I see work really well on Facebook are shoes, clothing, items like that, where you can picture it in some way to people are willing to click, and then drive that traffic to Amazon. The second thing is actually using a sales site like Snagshot. There's other ones where they've kind of changed their terms of service. Just be careful of which one you use. I know that guys at Snagshot work really hard at being completely compliant with terms of service, and they really, really try. The thing you should know is that if any service out there tells you that they are compliant and that Amazon has told them they are compliant, then that company is lying to you, because Amazon doesn't do that. So if anyone sends you an email that says, Amazon has said that we're compliant, they are full of crap, and run away.
That's the technical term too.
This is the most important thing that you guys can think of, because I keep seeing this in the Facebook forums. People saying, XYZ company told me they were compliant. Right. They talked to somebody at Amazon and they're all compliant. Blah, blah. No, they're not.
Right. Well, and that speaks to the question in our chat. I don't believe anything you read, and don't believe what you're seeing. If the group that you're in is not showing that their people are following the TOS, I can't say that you're being associated with the group is a risk necessarily, unless you're generating reviews out of it. Then yes, you potentially are. If that group becomes on Amazon's radar, they will potentially go after it, and anyone they can connect to it. So yeah, potentially that's a risk. No email. Amazon will never tell a company. They won't. They simply won't do that. I worked inside the risk group, as did Rachel and Emily, to a different degree in a different department, but I know that we all experience the same thing. Amazon does not reveal its cards to anybody. Those cards are as close to the chest as they can possibly be, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is not giving away how they're doing, what they're doing, and how they're planning it. So I wouldn't believe anybody that tells you, oh, Amazon said we're compliant, we're good. No. Their buddy who might be at Amazon, who might know a little bit about it, might have told them that, but Amazon as a company would not legally and publicly sanction that activity. They just wouldn't.
Yeah, another thing to keep in mind is that the people who are willing to talk are not the people in the risk department.
Yes, precisely.
Because all of us were very familiar with how legal put a muzzle on us. We could not say anything, we could not write anything, we could not even go to some conferences. We certainly couldn't ask questions at the conference because legal was always on us saying you can't say anything, you can't write anything, you can't even confirm anything.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I mean, Snagshot is the only one that I can say I think has made a concerted effort. I would not believe that about AMZ Tracker. I've heard too many things, and any other group out there,
Well, they
it's a
advertised
risk.
these super URLs. That
Right.
was on their website.
Right,
So
which is not against 2S. So right there, bam. Adapt, mutate, or die. That's all I can say. You've got to go back to the more traditional methods. Yes, those cost more. They cost more in time. They cost more in effort. They cost more in actual money. But they are not going to get your account suspended. I'm working with somebody right now who they got themselves into deep trouble with multiple different violations of the review rules, and it's a struggle. Trying to get them back online is a struggle. I'm confident we're going to get there, but you don't want to have to come to me to help you to do that. It will be painful, and there will be tears, and it will not be fun. So please don't risk your account. It's not worth it. I know in the short term there's pain, but longer term there's a lot to be gained.
yeah, and I know Emily and I say this a lot. Like, you don't want to hang out too much with Kelly.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, I know.
Lovely person, but from a work perspective, let's just not go there.
You only come to me when things are bad. You don't want to hang out with me. No, it's true. It's true. You need my skills when things are not going well, and that's stressful and that's hard, and it can be really difficult to make good decisions when you're under a lot of stress. So, save yourself that trouble. Follow TOS.
Awesome. Yeah, so as far as the second area that helps, Amazon is actually doing some stuff itself. It never shuts off an avenue without opening other doors. There is a giveaway tool through Amazon now. You can actually buy your own product and then do giveaways. So you can actually use some of those review groups for that purpose. If you go through the Amazon system, they want to keep track of it all. That's the main thing, is they don't want anything happening outside of Amazon because then they can't track the connections. So if you actually buy it and then have people collect the giveaway on Amazon, they can see exactly who bought it directly in Amazon. There's no subterfuge there. So that's the reason why they're doing something like that, where it's within Amazon, because then they can keep track of the buyer and the seller. They want to keep it all within the system so they can keep track of it. So use the tools that Amazon's given you, and what all it really does is it sets back your launch frame by around 6 to 8 weeks, right? That's about how much time it takes to really get that momentum to be paying for a tool at discounts. You're just going to be giving away a lot of stuff at cost at first until you can get those reviews in, and then start reducing your number of giveaways. Okay, so item number 2. I'm already hearing about backups at the fulfillment centers. If you want something in for Q4, if you want it to be sold in Q4, ship it now. Don't wait. If you don't have it shipped within the next week, it's not going to make it in time for Christmas. I can almost guarantee it. Backups at the sortable FCs get as long as 6 weeks by December. So if it isn't shipped out by this coming week, then it will not be in stock in time to sell for Christmas. So if you haven't shipped it by now, then ship it within the next couple of days. If you can't ship it within the next couple of days, keep at least half your inventory to merchant fulfill. Don't let it get stuck in receive at Amazon.
Good call.
Okay, then the next thing I want to talk about is preparation for Chinese New Year. So we are already past the time for Q4. If your product isn't on a plane this week heading to Amazon or on a truck this week heading to Amazon, you are done for Q4. Ship has sailed. So now we're aiming for the next mini peak, which is the beginning of the outdoor season in March and April. So everything needs to be out the door by ocean by mid-January. So anything that is end of the school year, outdoor season, anything that is summer camps, all that needs to be ready and out the door by the end of January. So if you haven't had a PO set yet from your factory, you should probably do that now. Excuse me, so much crud. You basically want to make sure that your PO is accepted and your 30% down is done by the second week of December so that you can ship out by the second week of January. Chinese New Year is the first week of February, I think, this year. So
I think that's correct.
Really super backed up the 2 weeks before Chinese New Year. Everything gets backed up and all the boats are full. So be aiming for mid-January, not late January. Okay, so that's my public service announcement for anyone who's trying to import. And now I want to go to Vendor Express. One of the cool things about Vendor Express is that you get 5 free A+ content detail pages. You only get 5, so don't expect more. You can't even pay for more. As a vendor, you can pay for more. As a Vendor Express vendor, you can't. You only get 5. Let's see. Oh, yes, the other thing I wanted to mention is if you're hazmat, you can't get Vendor Express, and it is not available to soft lines. Soft lines are apparel, shoes, and jewelry. So, Emily, I just wanted to hear from you a little bit about how A+ is going for some of your clients and what it looks like and what kind of the benefits that you're seeing are for them.
It looks really cool. They look much better. And A+ detail page with the enhanced marketing content is really kind of the way to go. The pages are coming along really well. You can add lots of extra details and charts and different things like that to sort of add interest and point your potential buyers in the right direction for, being able to see the features that your product offers, and just kind of a different way of showcasing your product. And it's really cool. And it's relatively easy. The hardest part is just getting the art and kind of getting everything arranged in the right way, the way that you like it. But getting it uploaded into your account is pretty easy. And overall, it is very successful. People seem to really like it. So yeah, it's exciting to be offering something new like that. Yeah.
And if you're trying to make A+ content, can you make it on your own, or do you have to pay some expensive design firm to help you?
You don't. You actually can make it on your own, and there's a template right in your Vendor Express account in the help section. You can just go in there and download it, and it's basically, for the most part, filled out for you. It's just got kind of placeholder photos, but it tells you exactly how big the photos need to be. It tells you how much text you can put in certain boxes and sort of what the theme of that box is. And yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, actually. You don't really need to pay somebody to do it. My big hangups always have to do with getting images that work and that are big enough and that convey the point that I'm trying to make about the product. So, for that, if you have access to a family member who's a designer, you might bounce ideas off of them, but really it's not something that you need to pay anyone else to do. You should be able to do it yourself. It takes me, it's getting faster and faster. Give yourself a couple of hours for your first one, give yourself a few hours, and that should be enough time to at least get something that you're happy with.
Awesome. And if you're the kind of person who is just like, oh, I hate design, never gonna do that, ever, hate it, then certainly you can absolutely have that farmed out. I think the thing that's special about what we do is we're really focused on content research beforehand. One thing that I see people do all the time is they market themselves. So they come up with what would attract them as a customer. But if you're not the target audience for your own product, then you have just marketed to the wrong person. So knowing who your target audience is, what customers are looking for, is a pretty important first step to deciding what images you should have, right? If you don't even, like, if you're just marketing yourself, well, of course, like, I like this image, this is a great image. Like, that works just fine, right? But if you don't even know who you're marketing to, or maybe you're wrong, like, do the research and figure out if that's right or not. I think that's really a differentiator for us, is there's just so many things that we're seeing and so many different pieces that we're seeing that you end up getting a much more broad view. But certainly there's no corner on this stuff, right? You can absolutely do it yourself or get feedback.
Yeah, no, that is a good suggestion, a good reminder for people, because one of the reasons we do such targeted research beforehand is so we can learn all about the product. So if you're the maker of your product, or if you're very, very super familiar with your product already, what are the chances of you marketing directly to yourself? Because you do go to the cute pictures or to the, whatever your style is. Whereas I go for this shows the squishiness of the squishiness that I'm trying to convey, or whatever it is, so it's a little bit more marketing than you might otherwise do. So yeah, good call. If you're a seller, you might want to consider doing some research of your own. Hello, someone's head.
Battle of the Achilles. Okay, so I did see a comment in the comments there about 2 winners with the cost of only $20, and then they actually generated 15 purchases, which is exactly the benefit of one of these giveaways. So that's awesome. Okay, so I think we're good for tonight. Any questions, please continue to send those by email, and I will go take care of the little person who just interrupted. All right, thanks everybody, and we will see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.